What is up, true believers? It's Mason here with Comics and Crosses, where we discuss the eternal truths behind our modern mythology. And today we got something really cool. This is obviously a different location. I'm here with Brent, Trayce, who is doing something comic book, but doing it bigger and different than I've ever seen it done before, right here in my hometown, Sacramento. So, what's up, Brent, man? How you doing?
Good. How are you, bro?
This is exciting. It's cool. We just met, and I just came down because I had to talk with him about all the cool stuff he's doing. First of all, tell me about this location, where we're at, what's happening coming up this week.
So we're at the Impound store. Officially, that's what this is. Impound is my comic book series. It's the world that I've been building for my main character, whose superhero name actually is Impound. We're in Doco, which, for people who don't know, that is the area where the Sacramento Kings Arena is. It's probably the most active area in the city of Sacramento, and we're opening up a store for the series to be officially Sacramento's first superhero.
Yeah, that is cool. I mean, I think San Francisco had the Teen Titans at one point, so now Sacramento's got Impound, so that's good news. And I mean, for any comic book fans out there who have, been to all kinds of back alleys, seeing deep, dark, hidden comic shops, this, like he says, is in the center of town. This place is gorgeous. So I'll be getting plenty of footage for you to see. And how did this come about? How did it go from you creating a comic to all of a sudden it's rooted right here in Sacramento?
So me creating a comic, the whole Sacramento superhero concept, all of that, I put that narrative out there from the beginning. So that was my intent, because I knew Sacramento's never had anything like that. And I just knew that would be an easy hook, at least for the city itself. The way we ended up getting the store, I actually applied to have a kiosk, just like in the middle of the mall type of kiosk. And then when I sent them all my stuff, when they contacted me back, they were like, "Man, this is super cool." We were like, "We don't want you to have a kiosk, we want you to have a store." And so it was like, I didn't think I was ready for a store. And they were like, "However we have to structure this to get it to work for you, we're willing to do it just because we love the idea of this so much." So Doco in the city of Sacramento had a lot to do with me being here. I wouldn't have made this leap this early in this company if it wasn't for them extending their hand, pretty much.
Wow, that's some cool connections that really, well, your work stood out for itself and brought you into this really cool position. So that's awesome to hear. And then for you as a comic book creator now, that's become this character that's going into multiple mediums, it looks like. How did you first start coming up with this character, these comics? Like, where did it begin for you that you said, "I'm going to do this"?
2018 is when I decided. That's when I thought of Impound. I've always been a writer. I never was publishing anything, but I've written multiple movie scripts. I've written novels. It's always a hero, always that type of concept. And the stories I wrote were too big for me to publish at that time. Like the movies I wrote would be movies that would need $100 million to do it the way I would want to do it. And so it just kind of hit me later that, when you writing movie scripts and writing comic books is very similar. Pretty much the book itself is the storyboard that they would use to plan out the movie. Right. So once I realized that, that's when I decided to go that path, because it was something I can do right now. So Impound himself, the word, the concept, it doesn't mean anything. It just sounded cool. I just was like on a tear of names, Googling random words, and landed on Impound. What it ended up being is my character is an MMA fighter. He's from Sacramento. I picked that because Sacramento's MMA culture is actually big but small at the same time, where we've had champions and a lot of people don't know that. So that's what made me make him an MMA fighter. And then Impound, in the story, he's a tow truck driver. So that was kind of like the joke. They were calling him, "Hey, Impound," like making fun of him, and he just took on that identity on his own and made it his actual person. So, Impound was his name before he became a superhero. That was like Rampage Jackson type of deal, so that's where that is.
Okay, so something that really intrigued me about you and about what you're doing is the fact that we're seeing comics we're seeing also, you know, merchandise and things that go along with it. I'm seeing video games. What really caught my attention was your animated illustrations online, so that people can visually see the panels and hear voiceover. So tell me about all these different ways you're using this source material.
With anything, the way that you promote things, you need to hit as many different audiences and people as you can. You got to give them more than one way. And so something like this, there's nothing that we can't do with it. We can do a children's book, we can come out with a adult beverage, which we're doing. There's no stone we can't turn over, so why not turn them all over? So I figured, you know, I wasn't a heavy comic book reader, but I was super into the games, into the show. So it's like, I looked at it like there are people that may never read the books, but they want to play the game because they're gamers. Or, you know, they just like the style. There's people that are just fashionable. You just put as much out there until something sticks. And that was just the rationale behind that. People who don't want to read, but they'll watch the audiobook. Same thing. It's just attacking as many people as we can.
Yeah. Yeah, funny you say that, because somebody just this week commented on one of my videos, said the first time they found the character Spawn was because they put him in a video game, and he was one of the players you could use, and then from there they got into the comics, they got into all kinds of things. So rings true. Yeah. I mean, yeah, you're kind of hitting all your bases there. Yeah. And so you say you weren't a huge comic book guy, but were there like certain characters that maybe were most significant to you?
Well, I've always been in the comic book world, but I wasn't necessarily a comic book reader. When I did read, I was reading novels. So like we were talking about before, stuff like Game of Thrones and Lord of the Rings, those type of things, those were what I was reading. But as far as like the comic book, I was always into the games, the show. Hulk is my favorite hero, always has been. That's what inspired the green. And Spawn was my second. So, you know, Spawn was the first black superhero I'd ever seen when we seen the movie. So he's always kind of been like, that's really cool, because I didn't even know that. When you see a suit, you wouldn't know that. So when I seen the movie, he just became a hero for me early. And that also kind of inspired a lot of Impound, is like, you know, Spawn had like the green eyes, and that whole darkness of him is what I'm putting in this world. So my favorite inspired all of this. Other than them, you know, everyone loves Spider-Man. I would say what I love the most, probably above everything, is not Batman, but his villains. So, you know, Joker, I've always been a big fan of Two-Face. He has the best villain lineup in my opinion. So that also inspired Impound, because I promote my villains almost more than I promote Impound himself. You know, we have 4 books, and 2 of the books are villains. You know, so that kind of came from the Batman world.
Yeah, and I think it comes from telling a good story too, because the best villains are the ones you can kind of relate to a little bit. You understand
what's their problem is.
Yeah. You know, you're like, okay, this guy thinks he's right, and that makes him interesting. Yeah. You know, he doesn't think he's the villain of his own story or whatever. So giving them their own book, giving them their own title is a really cool way to
grow with them.
Add to that.
Like in the Marvel world or in the cinematic world, I loved how they put all those movies together. What I hated was, we really didn't know Thanos. We really didn't, not in the movies at least. He just kind of like had 2 appearances. He was in one of the Guardians, and then all of a sudden he's just taking over the world in Infinity War. And I wish we would have seen Titan go under. I wish we would have seen why he's so obsessed with this. They just kind of had to throw that in there in Infinity War, so I didn't want to. Obviously, it didn't come out as a mistake because it did really well, but that to me was a mistake, and I didn't want to do that same thing. So I'm starting with square one with all of my villains before they even meet Impound. Yeah. You know, you see them with him, but I'm also giving you their story too, their perspective.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, an opportunity that could have been missed by some, but you've taken advantage of and telling good stories there, so that's cool. And you mentioned a bit about like Spawn being the first black superhero character that you came across and were gravitated towards. Do you feel like representation or for people feeling like they recognize with your character Impound was a part at all of his creation, or just came out of just what you wanted? Of Impound specifically, like with your characters. Okay. Did that factor in at all? Because there's a lot of conversation about representation right now. And
I mean, I mean, I made him a black hero because I'm a black person. So, that was just subconsciously doing what I would envision my hero would look like. So I'm not gonna go as far as to say like, I made him with the mind state, we need more representation. I just did what I felt represented me. And by doing that, it means more to a lot more people than I even realized. Mothers will tell me, oh, like, you're showing my son a different way. You're showing people a different way, not just, and I was just doing what I thought was cool, you know what I mean? Yeah. But it does mean a lot more to other people, and I'm very conscious of that. But I just made him look, Impound looks like how my dad looked when I was a kid. So I guess that was who the hero was to inspire the way he looked. Yeah. But when I look at him, I see my dad.
That's cool, and I do like the relationship with him, and I think it's Lily, his daughter, in the story, so you get to see some of that and have this, kind of noble character, kind of get some of that Superman Cap kind of vibes, standing for the right thing regardless. So also I wanted to ask you about where you see this going. Like, what's the future for Impound? Like what are the things that you want to expand into? What does it look like coming up?
I mean, I think every creator in this world, the goal is a movie or a series. I think that's the end of the road for everyone. So definitely that. As of right now, it's still the first goal, and that's just books. So there's still a lot of story that needs to be told. There's still a lot of people I need to get to learn about my characters and fall in love with them and grow with them. So right now the goal is just putting out as much content as possible so that they can learn about them as well as they can. We haven't started producing action figures, so I would say that's the next physical step in the company, is to get into that. Yeah. And like I said, the end of the road is a movie or a series, That's the goal we're going to at the end.
Very cool, very cool. Yeah, and then so for our comic book people watching, this is great. We want to hear that there's more content out. I know some people can feel like sometimes they back something independent and then, they don't have anything else to go off of for a long time and stuff, but you're set up to really keep churning stuff out here. Right. So what are the ways that, because we're in Sacramento, but what are the ways that people can get your content,
Well, now a big one if you're in Sac will be the store, for sure. Our personal website, everything runs through that, so impoundcomics.com. We've set it up really, really nice, really easy to navigate, and we have everything in the stores on the website. We have our Patreon on there. That's the best way, for sure. Our Instagram, I would say, is probably the next best thing, because our Instagram audience is growing really fast, faster than anything else. So that's best.
Yeah, I noticed the Patreon, that's new, so you can become a patron, and for, I think like $5 a month for, really reasonable prices, get access to this content as it's coming out. If you're not local, if you are local, come, I always like getting the floppies, so you come in and get a book, but that's really cool. Okay, and then so the grand opening though of the store is this Friday.
This Friday.
So what's it look like? I know there's like a ceremony of some kind.
We're doing a ribbon cutting at 10. Cool. And everyone in the area has already said they will be there. So the Sacramento Kings execs said they're coming. The owners of the Sawyer, they're all coming. It should be really big because it's more than just a comic book to our community. It's really a potential, like a face of our city. The same how Spider-Man is to New York, Impound is to Sacramento. So it's turned into more than just a comic character here, at least. So I think that's really cool because that was my intent in the beginning.
Yeah. I feel like, Brent, like you created a really cool model here that a lot of cities could or should duplicate, like have,
sure.
Why wouldn't a city and all kinds of people in the community get behind a hero that represents the values, represents what the city's about? And it's just kind of a perfect thing, like to make comics and make storytelling more than just a book, more than just that.
And I think people, especially in our region, they just look at this as Marvel and DC, and it's almost not even a thing that regular people do. So it's like mind-blowing that it's so homegrown, you know what I mean? And I hope to inspire more people in the area to want to do this, and to join something new, you know, so I think it's really dope.
That's cool. I agree 100%. The other thing I wanted to ask about is what do you think about the content you're creating and accessibility for like young adult readers? Because I know that's I don't know if you consider is it age appropriate? Is it something that you think about?
It's definitely a mature story. It has darkness. It's very dark. And that was just because that's what I was into. I was, like I said, Spawn, Hulk, they have really dark, can be dark characters. Mortal Kombat, like that's what I loved. So that's what I made it. But, I was very conscious of that, which is what made me start Superhero Daycare, which is the children's book version of the Impound world. So for me personally, it wouldn't be something I wouldn't mind letting a son or daughter read, because I just feel like when I was a young kid, like I said, I was playing Mortal Kombat. I was already into it. But I wouldn't recommend it for everybody's child. Yeah. So, but Superhero Daycare for sure. It's fully educational, fully, inner child hero concept. So that's the way I would push if you are weary of like letting your kids see something a little bit darker. Yeah,
mature themes, serious situations, because a lot of times I think people who don't know the comic world, maybe seen some movies or whatever, think, oh, there's a comic shop, I'll send my kid there, they can get whatever, so.
They think a comic and just naturally relate it to kids because it's a cartoon in their mind. But, the best comics are the ones that are realistic. People don't want it to be immature or too goofy. They want to feel like this is a real hero in a real situation. So I think it's important to make it more dark, that the hero doesn't always win. Doesn't always work out. I think that just makes it hit home for people better.
100%. Yeah, that's really cool. Okay, so that's the story, and please go to impoundcomics.com. If you're in the Sacramento area, Friday, August 6th, there's going to be the ribbon cutting at 10 a.m., right? 10 a.m. Okay, and but guys, if you can't come down here for that, just come down to the shop. This is the coolest location in the city, literally, and a really cool shop. That's what's up.